Okay, welcome to the show. Today, our guest is Brice Peressini with a background in finance and trading. Today, he is a Web3 and crypto enthusiast passionate about different applications of the latest blockchain technologies. Brice, thanks so much for coming on the show.
Oh, pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
So, crypto, Web3, these are buzzwords we hear, but I think I'm with the masses in that I don't understand much about it at all. Can you give a quick rundown? Let's start with Web3. What is Web3?
Web3 is the application of smart contracts and using blockchain to really be able to put the information that you're sharing onto the blockchain. So the most common technology that we hear of right now is with NFTs, non-fungible tokens. And so those are literally contracts that are unique to that item, whatever that item may be. Most commonly right now, it's JPEGs or GIFs. And so we mostly know it as kind of cartoon art form like Bored Ape Yacht Club, but the opportunity of tokenizing assets is limitless, and so that's where I see it going. And it's many talented developers are working on that aspect of Web3 at the moment.
Gotcha. And I'm familiar with blockchain as a technology, but some people are still catching up. How would you describe the blockchain to someone who's never heard of it before, or maybe has been too afraid to ask since it's entered the popular culture?
Of course. So blockchain is essentially using different algorithms and mathematics to prove transactions. And this can be done in a variety of different ways. And the most commonly known blockchain technology is Bitcoin. It uses something called proof of work. And so the way it functions is it throws out a challenging mathematical equation that needs to be solved. It goes out to the entire blockchain or the entire network. And then once that algorithm or that equation is solved, it's put on the blockchain. So it adds a chain and that's the creation of the blockchain. It's literally all the other transactions and then this current one.
So everything is linked together, hence the name, the chain.
Yes. So every transaction will have every previous transaction in as a part of it. So each one is a block and each adds to that chain. And then as a whole, you have the blockchain. So all of the transactions on that particular network. And there, like I said, there's different ways of proving it. With Bitcoin, that way is having progressively more challenging equations that are put out there to be solved.
And what's one of the other ways? I mean, I think Bitcoin is the most popular example. What are some other ways that are emerging that you can have the same thing?
So, I mean, part of the challenge and part of what we're hearing with Bitcoin recently is the energy demands that it takes, because these equations are now not, when it first launched back in '08, I believe, you could mine Bitcoin with a personal computer, and that was enough computing power to earn Bitcoin. I mean, if you put your PC on it back then, you would have been earning a lot. You probably would be well retired by now. But the reality is that now massive server farms are dedicated to solving these equations, and the energy output of it is really high. Last year, it was equivalent to the country of Austria. So it's a quite an energy intensive process to prove these transactions. So one alternative that has come up is called proof of stake, and so it has you're still proving equations, but the in order to prove them, there's less people on the network that are fighting for that proofing, and so and the tokenomics of it is different as well. So when you're using in Bitcoin, you're rewarded, and in Ethereum for providing computing power to the network. You're rewarded with the native token with Bitcoin or Ethereum. With something like, say, XRP, which is one that I'm a big fan of, and it's faster and cheaper and less energy dependent than the two big boys of Ethereum and Bitcoin. You have a staking mechanism, and so that has more so like interest payments instead of working, instead of competition to create to prove the algorithm, or to prove the equation. So it's faster because you have to provide some of your coins. You have to be kind of a bigger player within the network to have a node. And then once you have that node, then the equation is only going to a handful of those nodes instead of everywhere. And so, for example, Bitcoin can take 7 to 15 minutes to prove a transaction. Ethereum, 1 to 5. XRP is a handful of seconds. And so, depending on what proofing mechanism you're using for your blockchain, that will determine the cost of proving a transaction and the speed of it as well.
I think we're already going over my head, but so this XRP network, is that financial like Bitcoin and Ethereum, or is that something else?
It's looking at the same problem of decentralized financial transactions. It just recently, the Ripple Labs is the who built the XRP ledger, and they just recently announced a $250 million grant for smart contracts. So one of the big advantages of Ethereum and why it's being used so widely right now is its smart contract advantage. It was the first to the market in that world. And so that's why most NFTs are traded on OpenSea and transacted in Ethereum, even though the gas fees can be astronomical. We saw recently there was the metaverse land that went up for sale, and the excuse me, we have next door neighbor dogs here. And the gas fees for that were up to 3 Ethereum, so up to $6,000-7,000 in gas fees just to prove this transaction. Because the way Ethereum works, as the network gets as more transactions are trying to be funneled through the network, the gas fees go up to try and have that be proven first. You pay more to get ahead of the line there. Which causes problems. And whereas on the XRP ledger, there's a token built on it called Solo, and they have a marketplace called Sologenics. And one of its great benefits is it costs only 3 Solo to mint NFT, whereas on Ethereum network, you're paying approximately an equivalent of $70-80 depending on the time of day and how busy the Ethereum network is. And Solo tokens worth about 30 cents, so you're paying about 90 cents to mint an NFT on its network. And so it's backed by, it runs off the XRP ledger, and that's why it is able to have a significant cost and speed advantage to Ethereum.
That makes
if
sense.
that's
More,
making sense.
I mean, not 100%. I won't pretend to totally get it, but that might have more to do with the listener than the than the teacher. I do, it was a hot topic a few weeks ago. There was a big crash with Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. Do you have anything you can add for our listeners in terms of the context we may have heard in that area?
Yeah, so I mean, it's we're definitely in a bear market right now. There's regulation issues that we're seeing globally. There's a lot of different jurisdictions that are trying to ban Bitcoin mining because of its energy use. There's the big thing that caused that crash a couple weeks ago was called a coin called Tether. It's a stable coin, which is essentially meant to, or sorry, no, not Tether, Terra Luna. Tether is a different stable coin, which also could, I see potential issues that happened with Luna translating to Tether as well. But so Luna is a stable coin that's supposed to be $1 to $1, and it was backed by a algorithm that was kind of foggy in how it was tracking this $1 to $1 and what it was backed by. And so we literally saw it drop 10,000%. If you invested $10,000 in it 2 months ago, you'd have $1 or less. And so and it was one of the top five cryptos for a while there. So that massive crash caused some obvious jitters to happen market wide. And I think one of the big issues we're seeing right now is most coins are bought through these stable coins, and there's not a lot of transparency in what is giving them value. So I see a potential risk with Tether because Tether is the most used. USDT is what it is, how they shorten it. And most exchanges have that as a major pairing. And if they can't prove that there's anything backing it, we could be in for another surprise here.
Interesting. So let's take the conversation towards other applications of this technology. So people are familiar with Bitcoin, some maybe Ethereum. It reaches the news when this monetary value is lost in a crash like any other market, really. But what are the other applications you see? I mean, people might be familiar with NFTs at a high level, but like you said, it's really artwork or really links to artwork at this point. What are the other assets and potential you see for blockchain technology?
To be honest, I think blockchain is going to change the way we live more than the internet did, which is a bold statement, but I mean, the applications are near limitless. Voting could be done on the blockchain. So there's been issues over the last few years over people's, trust in the system because, maybe it's not able to be verified or there's, issues with a lot of different issues that come with electronic voting, that come with mail-in ballots, that all these different things. And if it's done on the blockchain, there's a trail that could be proven to have, and using AI to say, okay, this is Brice, here's his ID, okay, here's your vote, it's on the blockchain, boom, okay, and then that's instant, and then it could be counted instantly. And I mean, we're seeing in Pennsylvania issues where 2 weeks out, they still can't call an election. That's one potential use case for blockchain. Another potential use case is literally you can tokenize any asset. So what I think is going to be happening, and people are already working on this right now, is tokenizing commodities. So, for example, oil delivery, petroleum. So instead of going to the Chicago Mercantile Exchange and buying futures contracts and having this whole delivery done through really a system that was built in the late 1800s. It has been modernized and it's electronic now and all this, but the main functionality of it still operates on futures contracts that have been around for 130, 140 years. So whereas if it's tokenized, you say you buy a barrel of oil off of me, you own that like right away. So you send me whatever, $100, whatever it's trading at, worth of whatever crypto we agree on in the smart contract. As soon as there's no escrow, there's nothing like that, that transfer of ownership is instantaneous. So that's one of the biggest functions. Is commodities market is bigger than the equities market globally. So, all grains, potentially water in the future, which could be a little scary, but fresh water, this is something that we're going to be talking about here. I've been talking with some people that have carbon credits on the blockchain. So being able to trade the carbon credits and monitor that, a big area that I see right now is commercial real estate. So for example, say you tokenize a big skyscraper, I don't know, like the World Trade Center, whatever, any skyscraper, and say it's worth $1.5 billion. You could buy 1/10,000th of that skyscraper and share in the revenue of it, and have that ownership. So it makes more accessible some some investments that until now you required mass capital to participate in. And in this future with the tokenization, you can buy fractions of an asset instead of one big lump sum.
Okay, that makes sense to me, and that's really interesting. So it could play a huge role in the democratization and access to assets because they can be split into so many pieces. Okay.
Yeah.
That I understand. So I'm making progress here, but that's fascinating. Thinking about marketing applications, at the end of the day, this podcast is about marketing, especially for tech and enterprise companies that sell technological products that may be going way over the head or in one ear and out the other for their prospects and customers. What role do you see NFTs or Web3 playing in marketing? Maybe in the future, but maybe right now. What's something that marketers in the enterprise tech space could do with this technology to have a head up on the competition?
There's a lot that could be done and can be done, and there's limitless applications. For example, let's say you bought a limited edition pair of Nikes. It's like one of 100 or something, right? And you could, when you purchase that, it could be tokenized, and so you get like a JPEG version of your sneakers, and you own that tokenized sneaker as well as the physical ones. And then you're a part of an exclusive group of only 100 people who own the sneaker. Well, there could be get-togethers. There could be, say, they could drop like T-shirt or something with your sneaker on it. So like the IP of that purchase, you have forever, and well, until you decide to sell it. Maybe another drop of different pair of shoes, you have front of line access to that. There's all different kinds of things you can attach and benefits you can attach to a particular NFT. One application we saw recently, Gary Vee is a huge advocate of the NFT space, and he's created his own NFT line. He's been very successful, a handful of them, not just one. But one of his NFT lines allowed access to his conference, VCon, I think it was called. And this happened just a couple weeks ago. And so you had to have one of these NFTs to gain access. And there were speakers of all different types, very high profile speakers. You're networking with fellow Web3 NFT enthusiasts. There were major brands that were sponsoring this because they wanted to be associated with this, and major brands are trying to learn how to market like this, and Gary Vee has found a way to really make it something of value. Because if you're selling an NFT, the part of part of what you're wanting to do is have some sort of value there. I mean, the artwork can be incredible as far as just the JPEGs or GIFs that you're getting off of that. But if it's not backed by some sort of community and some sort of access to something more, I think eventually it'll kind of fizzle out. One of the most popular NFTs and expensive NFTs right now is it's called Proof Collective, and it gives it's what's the name of the guy? Crap, it missed. He's one of the leaders in the NFT space right now, and this NFT, it looks just like a membership card, and they're all the exact same, and there's like 10,000 of them. You get access to this community board, and you get whitelisted for airdrops. For example, they airdropped moonbirds, and if you were on the whitelist for that, you could buy a moonbird for, I believe it was 2.5 or 3 Ethereum, and literally you could have, a week later, you could have flipped it for 30 Ethereum. So 27 Ethereum, $54,000 at that time, and all from being a member of that group. So yeah, this is where I see the marketing applications. You have to provide some sort of value to it, but you can be very creative with what that may be, and how you use your community to like add that value and to create fans.
So if I wanted to get kind of dip my toe in the water, who would I even talk to about getting started with understanding this or creating NFTs for a brand?
It's a good question. Creating an NFT is not, minting one isn't that challenging. Creating a marketing application for that is a bit more of a process. There are companies out there, I'm not too familiar with it. I haven't gone down the route of looking to provide marketing through the NFTs. I've minted a couple myself. I'm a photographer as well, and so I've minted a couple photography NFTs just to kind of play around with the mechanisms of what minting is, and the sales process, and all this. Currently OpenSea with the and the Ethereum network are the market leaders. However, I'm a big fan of Sologenics because of the cost of it. The XRP ledger has a major upgrade coming within the next couple months that's going to allow for interoperability. So the trading of NFTs that are on other networks, on the Sologenics network, which I believe is going to be a game changer. It'll allow you to trade, like a Bored Ape Yacht Club NFT, and have it traded for, a fraction of a penny, because the transactions on the XRP ledger are that cheap, whereas you trade one on OpenSea and it's quite high. So I mean, if you're looking at minting your own, I would encourage people to look at the Sologenics network, even though it doesn't. The problem right now with it is that it doesn't have the exposure of the Ethereum network, but I believe that's going to change in the near future with this new XLS 20D upgrade that's coming. So
interesting.
I could do some research and find the companies that are helping people with marketing, but I don't currently have, off the top of my head, I don't know.
No, that's fine. I mean, I think a lot of this is going over my head, most of it, but some interesting things to think about, and love learning about new things. If you had, if there were ideas you wanted to share with our audience, what haven't we covered? What's exciting you right now, and what do you think people need to know?
Well, I think the opportunity of this is that you can be as creative as you want to be. Like even a small business owner can say, "Hey, like I'm having a pop up, and this is for my customers. This is a customer appreciation. At this pop up, I'm going to give away NFTs, and everyone who comes to this gets that. It'll give you access to further pop up events, or to say advanced access to sales. So like you get a day or two in advance, or like there's all kinds of whatever you want to attach to your NFT, whatever benefits. I mean, it's a communication platform, and by creating that community and having your brand tied to its own NFT IP, it allows you to have that closer connection and to create whatever you really want to. Like Gary Vee had a massive conference. That doesn't necessarily have to be what you're looking to do, but maybe it's a metaverse meetup. I don't know. But whatever your brand is, like you can think of unique ways to express your brand through your NFT.
Very cool. Well, Brice, is there anything else you want to share with our audience before we have you share your screen and play some tap to flap?
Uh, I just would encourage people to, research the basics of what this is, because I think this is like the mid 90s of the internet. It's the Wild West, and there's going to be a lot of things that fail, just like in the mid 90s with the internet. But there's also massive opportunities, and the things that win, the ones that hit this right, it's going to be a game changer for sure. There's a great YouTube series on blockchain technology, and the professor is the current SEC president. So Gary Gensler, and he does a 20-part series. So if you really want to do a deep dive into the nitty gritty of it, that course was like, I mean, it's an MIT course on your computer. So I highly recommend that if you're wanting to like go deep.
Cool. Great recommendation. I may end up there because you've got me curious. But are you ready to play tap to flap and see where you land on the scoreboard?
I'm ready to play. I don't know how great my score will be, but I'll give it a go.
Great. So if you hit share screen and open up the link, I will get the timer ready for 1 minute.
Okay, so I have 1 minute to try and get the best score.
Yep, and it will automatically record your highest score. So all you have to do is do your best to flap, and then when you get a game over, just click again. It'll reset, but it will record your highest score from the session automatically.
Okay, sounds good.
All right, when you're ready, click and I'll get this thing started. Oh, on the board already. Nice. 2, 3. Oh, you're on a roll already. You're up to a high score of 4, or was that a 7 from before?
Oh. It's harder than it looks.
It is really hard. It's one of the things that makes it so addictive when we use it as a attention getter at Incentive Pilot for those important sales initiatives. All right, got about 15 seconds left.
Oh, one too many taps.
3 seconds. If you keep going here. Okay, nice job.
One too few taps.
Well, thank you for humoring us, Brice. Always fun to get a game in there. If people want to talk to you about Web3, crypto, anything else, where is the best place for people to find you online?
LinkedIn is probably the best place to chat with me about crypto or Web3. Uh, my I'm sure you'll put it in the description. My name, so it's easily searchable in LinkedIn. I'm the only Brice Peressini, believe it or
Wow,
not.
you lucked
So
out. That's awesome.
yes and no. You can't be anonymous either. So depends how you look at it. Yeah, and the other thing that I'm doing right now is I'm helping startups with their finances and accounting. So if that speaks to you or that's of need to someone, any of your listeners, I'd be happy to talk about that as well. So,
Very cool. Well, thanks for coming on, Brice, and have a great weekend.
yeah, thank you, Andrew. Okay, peace.